Hi, I'm Stella V, and come cook with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and I'll make sure I reply. Today we're in for a real treat. We'll be making osso bucco. Osso bucco is traditionally an Italian dish that takes 3 or 4 hours to prepare, but today I'm going to show you how you make that with just an hour. Osso bucco, I'm sure you've heard the term, and what is it? Osso bucco literally means a hole in the bone, and we'll be using a veal shank. Veal shanks are very traditional for osso bucco, but because veal is quite expensive and a little harder to find, you can also use beef, which is very common, or even pork osso bucco, and it's just a cut from the shank of the veal, pork, or beef. Because it's from the leg and there's a lot of sinewy tendons, it normally takes 3 or 4 hours of braising to develop that flavor and to make it fall off the bone luscious and delicious. But as I said, today we're going to be using the Instant Pot and we'll have a delicious osso bucco dinner in an hour. The only preparation we need on the veal shanks are to liberally salt and pepper both sides. Now we have our veal shanks prepared, salt and pepper. The other ingredients we'll be using are simply laid out in front of us here. As you can see, it's not a lot of ingredients, but it's going to develop such delicious flavors. We start with our mirepoix, which again is our celery, carrots, and onions. We have Italian seasonings, garlic, bay leaves, and garlic salt. Our liquid will be white wine and beef stock, and then crushed tomatoes, or you can use passata tomatoes, and a little bit of tomato paste. I'm going to be adding 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil to the bottom of the Instant Pot, and we'll be browning both sides of the veal shanks. This will take about 3 or 4 minutes. Simply hit the sauté button and that'll start to heat up. That'll take a few minutes to heat up. Once it's heated up, then I'll add the veal shanks to the hot oil. Now you don't want to overcrowd them, so if they don't all fit, you might have to do them in batches of 2. As you can see, the veal is nicely browning. I've just flipped it over to do the other side, and then we'll continue and do the next 2 pieces. Now we've taken them out, and as you can see, there's a beautiful browning color, and that brown color has left a lot of flavor in the pot. And we'll just put these aside for now while we prepare our vegetables. I'm going to add just a couple of tablespoons more of oil. And now we'll add our onions. Give them a bit of a stir. We'll add our celery in next. And our carrots. Give that a nice stir, get it coated with the oil. And as you do that, make sure you scrape up as many of the brown bits as you can. In a traditional recipe for osso bucco, they advise you to dust the shanks with flour. Because it's an Instant Pot and flour is a bit problematic because it can cause a burn notice in your pot, we do not dust it with flour. A burn notice on an Instant Pot is when there is food stuck to the bottom of the pot, it automatically turns off. It's a safety feature they built in, and it will say burn. The only way to correct that is to remove everything from the pot, stop it, and start again. So we do want to avoid that burn notice at all costs. Now it's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes for the vegetables to soften and for the onions to become translucent. All the while, every once in a while, give it a good scrape along the bottom. As you can see, this has been sauteing for 2 or 3 minutes, and the onions are starting to soften up. The vegetables have been sauteing for a few minutes, and it's time to add our seasonings. I'm adding a couple of tablespoons of Italian seasoning, some extra oregano, some garlic salt, chopped garlic, and give that all a stir. As you can see, the onions are translucent, and that's our key to add the liquid. We're adding a cup of white wine, and the white wine serves to deglaze the pot. And give it a stir, and all those little brown bits will now be lifted right off the surface. We'll give that wine a few minutes to saute, and that gives the alcohol a chance to evaporate, and also it flavors the vegetables. The wine has been sauteing for about 4 or 5 minutes, and now we're ready to add the rest of the liquid, which is beef stock. I've got about a cup of beef stock. Now we still have that on saute, and it is warming up the beef stock, the wine, and all the vegetables, and the vegetables are absorbing all that wonderful flavor. I'm going to add a couple of bay leaves. Just adding the bay leaf adds just another layer of flavor. And now we're ready to add the meat back into the pot. So the key is to keep the pieces intact, and we'll nestle them into the liquid. I'm using an 8-quart for the 4 shanks, but a 6-quart will work as well. We're now ready to cancel that saute function, and we are going to be adding our tomato to the Instant Pot now. I've got about 16 ounces of crushed tomato, and that's going to just simply go on top of the veal shanks. And for some extra flavor, I'm adding a little bit of tomato paste, but this is an ordinary tomato paste. My little trick is I found some sun-dried tomato paste, and I find that gives it a really good depth of flavor. Just a couple of squeezes from the tube is all you need. As you can see, the tomato is lying on top of the veal shanks, and we're just ready now to put it on pressure cook. The pot is turned off, and we've got the lid onto sealing position, wherever that appears on your particular model. On this one, it's straight back. The lid is now locked in place. The button is pointing to the sealing position. We're ready to hit the pressure cook button. Now we're going to pressure cook on high for 35 minutes. It's going to take a few minutes to get to pressure, but once it does reach pressure, the counter will start counting up to 35 minutes. Osso Bucco. One of my favorite things to serve it with is mashed potatoes, but you can serve it with pasta, you can serve it with polenta, you can serve it with risotto. Those 3 sides are great starches to have with the Osso Bucco. I always like to add a green vegetable as a side, and that completes the dish and makes it a wonderful meal. Any green vegetable that's in season will do. I particularly like green beans or asparagus. So the pressure cooker has come to pressure. We'll now start counting down 35 minutes down to 0. And now the 35 minutes has counted down to 1 minute, and when it hits 0, it will start counting back up, and that means that it is releasing the pressure. And you can hear that. That means it's reached the 35-minute countdown. And the next numbers you'll see is a count back up. We're going to let it count up to 10 minutes, and we're going to naturally release for 10 minutes. We're just about ready. We've almost let it release for 10 minutes. I think we're at 9 minutes now. And at the 10-minute mark, I will simply move that valve and release any steam that's still trapped in the pressure cooker. We've hit 10 minutes of natural release, and that's important because it's kind of like when you take meat out of the barbecue or anywhere and you let it rest for that period of time. That's what the 10 minutes natural release does. Now I'm going to move that lever, and the rest of the steam will escape. I'm using an 8-quart, so it's quite a large pot. It will take a minute or two for the rest of the steam to escape, but you'll know when it does because there's a button on the top, and that button will drop down. As soon as the button drops down, it's okay to open the lid. I can already smell, it smells delicious even from before I take that lid off. Oh my gosh, you've got to see this. Can you see? I wish you could smell it. It is smelling delicious. And now you can see everything is bubbling. Everything has had the 35 minutes to meld together. And here you can see the Osso Bucco is absolutely beautiful. It's delicious. It smells wonderful. It is fall off the bone tender. And don't forget, you can spoon that sauce over polenta, pasta, risotto, or mashed potatoes, which is what we're serving tonight. I'm Stella V, and come cook with me. Hit that subscribe button, tell me you subscribed, and I will reply.